Are you worried about missing important details in real life English conversations? Don't let that hold you back. Welcome back to In English with Lisa. This is another episode of the Listening Practice series where every single story is written and read by me. Yes, the voice you hear is mine, not a robotic or AI program, giving you genuine spoken English. What fascinating twists and turns will we discover in today's story? Get ready to immerse yourself and improve. The Last Letter, Chapter 1. The Discovery. Margaret sat in her old wooden chair by the window. The morning sun came through the glass and made her white hair look golden. She was 83 years old now. Her husband Robert had died 5 years ago, but she still missed him every day. Today was different. Today she was cleaning out Robert's old desk. She had waited a long time to do this job. It was too hard before, but now she felt ready. The desk was made of dark wood. Robert had used it for 40 years when he worked as a teacher. Margaret opened the first drawer slowly. Inside, she found old pens, paper clips, and some papers from his school. In the second drawer, there were old photographs. Margaret smiled when she saw pictures of their wedding day. She was only 22 then, and Robert was 25. They looked so young and happy. But when Margaret opened the bottom drawer, she found something strange. There was a small wooden box hidden in the back corner. She had never seen it before. The box was old and covered with dust. Margaret took the box out carefully. Her hands were shaking a little. Inside the box there was a letter. The envelope was yellow with age. On the front she could see her name written in Robert's handwriting. For my dear Margaret. The letter was sealed. Margaret looked at it for a long time. Why had Robert written her a letter? And why had he kept it hidden in his desk? She felt confused and a little worried. Margaret held the letter close to her heart. She could still smell Robert's cologne on the paper. It made her remember all the happy times they had together. They had been married for 52 years. They had traveled to many countries. They had laughed together and cried together. But they had never had children. This had always made Margaret sad. She had wanted children very much, but it never happened. Robert always told her it didn't matter. He said their love was enough. But Margaret sometimes wondered if Robert was sad about it too. Now, looking at this mysterious letter, Margaret didn't know what to think. Part of her wanted to open it right away, but another part of her was afraid. What if the letter contained something that would hurt her? What if Robert had kept a secret from her? Margaret walked to the kitchen and made herself a cup of tea. She needed time to think. She sat at the small kitchen table where she and Robert had eaten breakfast every morning for 30 years. The letter lay in front of her. Outside it started to rain. Margaret listened to the sound of raindrops on the roof. It was the same sound she had heard with Robert so many times, but now she was alone. Finally, Margaret picked up the letter. Her hands were still shaking. She knew she had to read it. Robert had written it for her, so it belonged to her. Maybe it would help her understand something about their life together. With careful fingers, Margaret opened the envelope. Chapter 1 Comprehension Questions. Number 1. How long ago did Robert die? A. 3 years ago. B. 5 years ago. C. 7 years ago. The correct answer is B. 5 years ago. Number 2. What did Margaret find in the bottom drawer of Robert's desk? A. Old photographs. B. Papers from school. C. A small wooden box. The correct answer is C. A small wooden box. Number 3. Why was Margaret worried about reading the letter? A. She couldn't read Robert's handwriting. B. She was afraid it might contain something hurtful. C. The letter was too old to read. The correct answer is B. She was afraid it might contain something hurtful. Chapter 2. The Secret Revealed. Margaret's heart was beating fast as she took the letter out of the envelope. The paper was thin and fragile. She unfolded it very carefully. The date at the top showed it was written 30 years ago. My dearest Margaret, the letter began, I am writing this letter because I need to tell you something important. I have kept this secret for too long, and it hurts my heart every day. Margaret stopped reading. She felt scared. What secret had Robert kept from her? They had always been honest with each other. At least, she thought they had been. She continued reading. Do you remember when we went to visit my sister Catherine in Boston? It was in the spring of 1963. You were sick that week, so you stayed in the hotel while I went to see her alone. Margaret remembered that trip. She had caught a bad cold and couldn't leave their hotel room for 3 days. Robert had gone to visit his sister without her. When he came back, he seemed different somehow, but Margaret thought he was just tired. Margaret, something happened during that visit. Catherine told me something that changed everything. She told me about our daughter. Margaret dropped the letter. Her hands were shaking so much that she couldn't hold the paper. Our daughter? What did Robert mean? They had never had a daughter. They had never had any children. She picked up the letter again and read more slowly. Catherine told me that in 1961, 2 years after we were married, a young woman came to her house. The woman was carrying a baby girl. She said the baby's father was Robert Mitchell. Margaret, that's me. The woman said she couldn't take care of the baby alone, so she left her with Catherine. Margaret felt like the room was spinning around her. She had to sit down. This couldn't be true. Robert would never have done such a thing. He would never have had a relationship with another woman, and he would never have kept such a secret from her. But the letter continued. I know this is hard to believe. I couldn't believe it either. But Catherine showed me a photograph of the little girl. Margaret, she looked exactly like me when I was a child. The same brown eyes, the same dark hair, even the same smile. Margaret started to cry. All these years she had wanted children so badly. She had felt sad and empty because she thought they would never be parents. But Robert had a daughter, and he never told her. Catherine asked me what to do. The little girl needed a family. She needed parents who would love her and take care of her. I thought about telling you, Margaret. I wanted to tell you. But I was afraid. I was afraid you would hate me. I was afraid you would leave me. Margaret wiped her tears and kept reading. So I made a decision. I asked Catherine to find a good family for our daughter, a family who could give her everything we couldn't. Catherine knew a couple in California who couldn't have children. They were teachers like us. They were kind and loving people. Catherine arranged everything. Our daughter went to live with this family when she was only 6 months old. They gave her a name, Rebecca. Rebecca grew up happy and loved. Catherine sent me photographs sometimes, but I never showed them to you. Margaret felt angry and sad at the same time. How could Robert have made such an important decision without her? If they had adopted this little girl, their lives would have been completely different. They would have been a real family. But then she read the last part of the letter, and everything changed again. Chapter 2, Comprehension Questions. Number 1. When was the letter written? A. 5 years ago. B. 20 years ago. C. 30 years ago. The correct answer is C. 30 years ago. Number 2. What did Catherine tell Robert during his visit to Boston? A. That she was moving to California. B. That there was a young woman with a baby claiming Robert was the father. C. That she was sick and needed help. The correct answer is B. That there was a young woman with a baby claiming Robert was the father. Number 3. What name did the adoptive family give to the baby girl? A. Margaret. B. Catherine. C. Rebecca. The correct answer is C. Rebecca. Chapter 3. The Truth About Love. Margaret's tears fell onto the letter as she read the final part. Margaret, I need to tell you the most important thing. After Catherine told me about this baby, I didn't know what to believe. So I went to see a doctor. I asked him to do some tests. I needed to know the truth. The tests showed something that shocked me. Margaret, I cannot have children. I have never been able to have children. The doctor explained that I was born with a medical condition. This baby girl was not my daughter. The young woman had lied to Catherine. Margaret read these words 3 times before she understood them. Robert was not the father of this baby. The woman had lied. But why? I think the woman heard my name somewhere and decided to use it. Maybe she thought Catherine would help her if she believed the baby was related to our family. People sometimes do desperate things when they need help. Margaret felt confused. If Robert was not the father, why had he arranged for the baby to be adopted? Why had he kept this secret? Even though Rebecca was not my real daughter, I felt responsible for her. Catherine had already fallen in love with the little girl, and when I saw her photograph, I loved her too. She was so small and innocent. She needed help. I decided not to tell the adoptive family the truth. They wanted a child so much, and Rebecca needed parents. It seemed like God had brought them together. So I let them believe she was my daughter. I helped pay for her adoption because I wanted her to have a good life. Margaret stopped crying. She was beginning to understand Robert's decision. He had helped a child who needed help, even though she was not related to him. This was exactly the kind of thing Robert would do. He had always been kind to everyone. Margaret, I wanted to tell you about Rebecca many times, but as the years passed, it became harder and harder. I was afraid you would be angry that I had made such a big decision without asking you first, and I was afraid it would make you sad to know about a little girl we could have helped raise. But now I realize I was wrong to keep this secret. You have such a loving heart, Margaret. You would have wanted to help Rebecca too. You would have understood why I did what I did. Margaret was crying again, but now her tears were different. She was not angry any more. She was proud of her husband. Even when he was confused and scared, he had tried to do the right thing. I have been writing letters to Rebecca's adoptive parents every year. I send them money for her education and other things she needs. Catherine gives me updates about how Rebecca is doing. She is a smart, happy girl. She is studying to be a doctor. She wants to help sick children. The letter was almost finished. Margaret could see there were only a few more lines. Margaret, I am writing this letter because I want you to know everything about our life together. If something happens to me, I want you to decide what to do about Rebecca. All the information is in this box. There are photographs, letters, and the address of her adoptive family. You don't have to do anything if you don't want to, but if you would like to meet Rebecca someday, I think she would like to meet you too. Catherine says Rebecca sometimes asks questions about her past. She knows she was adopted, and she is curious about where she came from. Margaret, I love you more than all the stars in the sky. You have been the most wonderful wife a man could ask for. Our love has been the greatest gift of my life. I hope you can forgive me for keeping this secret. I hope you understand why I did it. All my love forever, Robert. Margaret folded the letter carefully and put it back in the box. She sat quietly for a long time, thinking about everything she had learned. She was not angry with Robert any more. She understood that he had been trying to protect her feelings, and she was amazed by his kindness to a child who was not even related to him. Margaret looked at the photographs in the box. Rebecca was beautiful. She had grown from a tiny baby into a lovely young woman. In the most recent photograph, she was wearing a white coat. She looked happy and confident. Margaret made a decision. Tomorrow she would write a letter to Rebecca. She would tell her about Robert and about their life together. She would invite Rebecca to visit her. For the first time in 5 years, Margaret didn't feel alone. She had discovered that love comes in many different forms. Robert had loved her completely for 52 years, but he had also found room in his heart to love a little girl who needed help. And now Margaret realized she had room in her heart too. She could love the daughter they had never had, but who had always been part of their story. Outside, the rain had stopped. The sun was shining again. Chapter 3 Comprehension Questions. Number 1. What did the medical tests reveal about Robert? A. He was very sick. B. He could not have children. C. He needed an operation. The correct answer is B. He could not have children. Number 2. What is Rebecca studying to become? A. A teacher. B. A nurse. C. A doctor. The correct answer is C. A doctor. Number 3. What does Margaret decide to do at the end of the story? A. Destroy all the letters and photographs. B. Write a letter to Rebecca and invite her to visit. C. Move to California to be closer to Rebecca. The correct answer is B. Write a letter to Rebecca and invite her to visit. Epilogue. 3 months later, Margaret stood at her front door, smoothing down her best blue dress. Her hands trembled slightly as she checked her reflection in the hallway mirror one last time. Today was the day Rebecca would arrive. The letters between them had flowed easily over the past weeks. Rebecca had been overjoyed to learn about Robert and Margaret, grateful to finally understand the mysterious benefactor who had quietly supported her education all these years. She had shared stories of her childhood, her medical studies, and her dreams of working in pediatric care, dreams that Robert's generosity had made possible. A car pulled into the driveway. Margaret's heart raced as she watched a young woman step out, tall, confident, with kind eyes that reminded her somehow of Robert's gentle nature. Rebecca carried a bouquet of yellow roses, the same flowers Robert had brought Margaret on their first date. "Mrs. Mitchell?" Rebecca's voice was warm and nervous. "Please call me Margaret," she replied, opening her arms. As they embraced on the doorstep, Margaret felt something she hadn't experienced in years, the joy of welcoming family home. Robert had been right. Love truly did come in many forms. Through his compassion for a stranger's child, he had given them both an unexpected gift. Looking over Rebecca's shoulder at the photograph of Robert on the mantelpiece, Margaret whispered, "Thank you for teaching me that family isn't just about blood. It's about the love we choose to share." The afternoon sun streamed through the windows, warming the house that would no longer echo with loneliness. The end.